Mema kwa baba Adkwart Studios. Nyame onsho so nyamrechi na hwe Adkwart Studios. Wapom ti say mejiri yese awrade adum mpom ye. Abosume ensomo ne yewo no na yefu sese sane nti enche na yeduru baabi a wiase nyina ekai se onye bibi a obon ho so na fi watu anamon enso obehwe no na 31st ni etwam a na amanfo gusu ye de omo ya ahwehwe se ombesa nya mwa papa bi ewakire aha enya dwuma sa ti ya no abomodin a hye osapo mu nsuo na watu anamon any Ghana ekoso a emrantie ne mabawa ne mpese omoye nhwehan bio ebrise nhwehan adiewu se oman nhwehan adiewu na asema me pese me ne wodwene hu mi mo de me hu na kasuo na asem bia me hu na kasuo no ya na mi jaima nso akire wadwen se Igbo ni bi abaga na ha an wakwaje asase yantam so ono na si ne ho hene se yesi ne hene wo Nigeria no de ba Ghana obinim na fi Ghana mrantie ne hu yi se dabi a niema ekeka ko no se yanhwe yi a ebeka ko fa nsem bebre aba na bibusa se ye mem ha kura obi betimi every baby Ashanti region Ashanti region ye na akoji asase na wabonu samrani se na o ye hine nti ono so bechichiri kuro na wamane man anane nkrofo aba betwa no ho ahia mentiasi o eno nti na mpesa onso kire wadwen no beba bi a ekọ no ewura Ghana hinim ewura manyosem eno na Ghana fomrantie bia hu se da bi si jeja ye ho saa ya nhwe yi a ye de asika bedwa nanka yenko tie niema akoso wo Ghana hasia emu bebre anti ye ne yenim ensem bi old man na neka aye kana le neka ya na wonti ase well utu kwan ya even na bridge kra no odum se ebi old man Ghana asantifo fantifo kwufo brofo de bi almost your money but say omoji asase baabi na wo mo ahihye omo se de enti bi mpani nsem da enti bi mpani nsem da ti be de ekoso wo Ghana no se omotimi akochia omo mpani na bijiri yesa sante hin so wa wachia na nbo so o cheche mpani fo na waka ne botaye a enu nti no wagi asase yantam no obi kan obi ewa bucha beji asase wo sanka bra wo bre o a we Ghana ni o bra o bre nyese Ghana mpa hoho na ade a Ghana yesuo ne hohoche ne ize ade a Ghana fo esuo sese ne hohoche ne owo oto abontimprum ano ne ade a Ghana fo esuo sese enti uhuni me se hwewenum nyina na fe mfoni foforo no fabra me yenhwe
up in Ghana, and every well-meaning Ghanaian will have to sit up and grant me your attention for just a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Uchi abranchie we ya na de ba ko a me pena asem ne se ode asem bi ba bonten a oto ne bo ase ye nhwehwemu papa oto ne bo ase ye nhwehwemu enti metumi aka se media ba ko a ewo ho a ebua Ghana ede sa abranchie enti se o kasa wase etie ni yie because na on kasa se ne boso nsem bi na oka na oka semu a ya na emudo ya na bansu yenkoni enkotie no.
And over time became well-respected leader among his tribesmen, has now set up a kingdom for himself in our country, ladies and gentlemen. He is an Igbo man bearing the title Eze Chukudi Ihenetu. I hope I'm saying it right. He has the title Eze in the Igbo Ghana, which translates King of Igbo people in Ghana. His tribesmen in Ghana crowned him this position and the title in 2012. And these are his images, ladies and gentlemen. A very fine gentleman whom we are told is married to a Ghanaian. And as a typical Ghanaian, ladies and gentlemen, I have no problem with that at all. But many people, including myself, will have a problem with anyone or any situation that has the potential to undermine our sovereignty as a republic. What has made our country livable for all people for many years is our hospitality towards one another and to foreigners, ladies and gentlemen. And that cannot be circumvented by any external tribe nor group of people. Ghana has a common chieftaincy practice of installing foreigners as development chiefs for the purpose of providing value to our local communities. This is a typical thing in Ghana. And hence, I thought what this man and his tribesmen were doing was something in line of that. Until, ladies and gentlemen, I read from an internet publication that they, and I mean the Igbo people, or he as a king in Ghana, has acquired acres of lands to build an Igbo town and establish an Igbo kingdom within Ghana. This is where I became disturbed, even though I'm yet to see any substantive evidence for this acquisition. That would be totally unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow Ghanaians, I want to believe this is a falsified story. But if not, this is not something we should entertain or allow to continue. Ghana is a sovereign country alongside our kings and our chiefs. They are called kings and chiefs for historical reasons. They have fought and protected their lands and been the source of the unity of our people till this modern era. It is not a title given out of charity, ladies and gentlemen. There is a meaning and a story behind every stool or throne in Ghana. There is a story behind every stool, land, and family lineage that authenticates the royalty of our kings and chiefs. These institutions are not to be toyed with nor replicated in any shape or form, ladies and gentlemen. People have fought and died in the protection of their clans and tribes and lands in Ghana. It used to be our system of governance before the colonizers came in, and therefore should be respected whether by foreigners or locals, ladies and gentlemen. What is happening with this self-acclaimed king of Igbos in Ghana, if true, will be a direct infringement on our chieftaincy structure and the sovereignty of our country as a whole. This cannot happen in any other region outside of Accra, and even in Nigeria. Can this even happen in Ashanti region, ladies and gentlemen, or any of the northern regions? In fact, This shouldn't happen in any other country and shouldn't happen for that matter in Ghana. The Igbo people of Biafra need a king and true leadership in these times of struggle for an Igbo nation. That cannot be done in a strange land. What this man is trying to do in Ghana will undermine his own people's effort for freedom from Nigeria. And I don't think his intention is to create a kingdom here in Ghana and move his people along. If he indeed has the resources and the know-how to lead his people, this is the time to stand up strong for your people in Abia and Anambra and Ebonyi and Enugu and in Imo states in Nigeria. Biafra is at crossroads with the federal government of Nigeria, and we as Ghanaians don't want to meddle in that. To be crowned a king is not simply by an election. It must be tied to the lineage of your family, the land of your tribe or family, the historical achievements or significance of your family name in relation to the community you lead, ladies and gentlemen. You don't just blip on the radar in a community that has its own leadership structure and annex your throne to theirs, ladies and gentlemen. That is not how it's done and doesn't make you a king nor a leader. And one reason we have to make this topical is because of how politicians relate with them. During the times of the formal government or the president, this man was seen, invited, and associated with the leadership of our country. And before the elections were held last year, he paid a visit to our current president. This is what he has used to gain for himself the popularity and the needed attention, ladies and gentlemen. But that's definitely not what Ghana needs at this time. We are not in need of more kings and chiefs, ladies and gentlemen. We have a diplomatic relationship with Nigeria, and that should be observed. The idea of our immigration officers inviting him and working with him is not going to be a healthy thing for Ghana and Nigeria's relationship in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to pay attention to all these. Nigeria has a high commissioner in Ghana. He is the representation of Nigerian government in Ghana. He is the one to be consulted or engaged on whatever the issues may be. Ladies and gentlemen, we the people of Ghana must be vigilant with the happenings in our country. We have come a long way with our differences, and that shouldn't be undermined under any circumstance. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome people from every part of Africa and the world to our country because that is who we are as a people. We are inherently peaceful people who just want to go about our business and live in peace with all men. We have what many African countries never had. We are one of the few African countries that has never experienced a civil war since independence, and we've had a stable democracy in the last 33 years. We have successfully seen the transition of political powers in that time frame, ladies and gentlemen, and we cannot be naive of the threats to these achievements. There is absolutely no need nor room for an Igbo king of Ghana or Yoruba king of Ghana or any sort of king on our land. How does it even work, ladies and gentlemen? Does it mean we will have to resort to him when an Igbo person is at loggerheads with our laws or not? That cannot be, because no Nigerian travels to Ghana or to any country on a passport issued by an Igbo state. It is Nigeria we deal with and should remain so until there is a country called Igbo. Nigeria is a friend and a strategic partner of Ghana, and that is how far it should go. A similar thing was happening in the Adan area in the Greater Accra region when a group of Lebanese people bought lands and wanted to build a Lebanese community that will prohibit Ghanaians from accessing it, ladies and gentlemen. They likewise wanted a town and a system for themselves within Ghana. Could that ever happen in Lebanon or in Nigeria for Ghanaians under any circumstance? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be guided and not be naive. What then becomes of our originality should that happen on our soil? It is true that historically, the Ga tribe originated from an Igbo community in Nigeria, but those who actually migrated left for a reason and chose to stay and not return. They have since then installed their own kings and chiefs at this point and contributed significantly to our nation's building. The Ga tribe in Ghana live a completely different reality from the Igbos in Nigeria. Don't let the few overlapping cultural similarities confuse you. They've moved on, and we should leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Ghana has its own problems to deal with. Let everyone go and deal with their problems in their individual countries. Our chieftaincy problems are already a headache for us. We don't need more. And this is my message to the Igbo king in Ghana. Oga, we have welcomed you with an open arm and made your stay comfortable in Ghana. We have given you a home away from your home, something that should be respected. Don't start anything that will ruin this situation. I'm told you are a generous man who has helped many of our people in the community you live, and that's totally welcomed, Oga. And I understand you are doing this for the interest of your tribesmen in Ghana. That is totally welcome. But please be reminded and be guided that Ghana is not the designation for your kingdom. That will be in Nigeria. You are at liberty to live within the confines of our laws and borders for as long as you would want. But that should be it, Oga. Our politicians may make promises to you and grant you access to certain high-profile meetings in the country. But we, the people, will see you for the foreigner that you are. As it stands now, there is no indication in any official government publication or credible Ghanaian website or media that suggests that your stool has been gazetted in Ghana. Let's leave it at that, Oga, and let's allow for Ghana to continue to live in the peace that we have. Thank you for watching, and hope this video finds its way to him, and hope to catch you in the next one.
Senior Oga IDM say what in Nigeria da. The all can be brebeni nyina no asikyere ne say ewiase no yachete awie ena yachikyere awie nti nyafe na obi free baabi abachikyere ne kro. Na omeya hunu yese awohoye no eduru baabi a na Ghana fo ase yabu ani agu niema so ena ya politicians no eduru baabi a ya na mintumi hu ya na ha wo mo se nim na ya na omo pew because bebreba o kan ni nyina ne se untumi nko baabi a na onko chichiri kuro bi na onka se wonso no wo chichiri kingdom enya kurase hini o enya odi kuro o hini muya na emuza se obetumi ababa esa wa Ashanti region diana ma Ashanti kingdom gina brand no because untumi ma Ashanti region na Ashanti man ba bia se wako jibe bi boss sin na ufri Nigeria ufri every coast na o ye ohine nti so ba chichire na wadi ohine aha Ashanti region there minkai nti ema Asante hine ene Asante amamre no menka say dia ka nyina anye o eye but Asante fo no o mo hine de Asante fo no o mo hine de we can say Asante fo no o mo hine de see de ya ne wo o mo ni na na ho agro na onim ayintasen bi anam panimfo no bi o se o yare kura na o se me kosum sikaja kofi o mo mfe ni agro kura o ono eye o man hini a ono akonya wote so anya akonya ketua no o se o kosum sikaja kofi kosum Asante hini na Asante fo bo mo modin ama we atintim ama I want to atwaso ayejuma we mpani focus bi se oyire free okromo abenya ayebo a oyira obayira na se ye yajeja niema mudodo efe se obi free Nigeria ba na ono nso ayese oboabo ani nkrofo ano baabi e ko no de e ya ginsemo na me ma sem busa kakra me yen se ɛyɛ fo na ama ne kwan saa no asase de so obi gi asase na ɔde yɛ ne nnwuma de a obi ani but hwan na ama ne kwan saa na botae bɛ ne di akyire na ɛdeɛ na ɔhwehwɛ sɛ ɔno firi Nigeria bɛkyekyere Nigeria ne ɔkyekyere no nso nyɛ Nigeria fo nyinaa yi o Igbo fo no Igbo kɔnu Igbo fo no nko no ne baabi a ɔkyekyere no wɔyɛ wɔn so hene na kyerɛ sɛ odwene ho a adwen foforo bi wɔ akyire sɛ Nigeria fo kura no community na ɔyɛ bibi saa de a enti Ghana mmerante ase wɔn ntena no mangye nsɛm ansa na wɔn aka ho asɛm nea ɔyɛ no ɔnyɛ sɛ ɔde bɛboa ne nkurɔfoɔ bɛ sɛ ɔsi ne ho hene wɔ Ghana ha deɛ ɔmo si yɛ ma kwan saa na ɔmo nso dwene ho sɛ mfoni foforɔ hɔ no ɛm sɛ Ghana foɔ mmeranteɛ ni bi aka wɔn mo mfoni foforɔ bi wɔ ameyɛhwɛ Empire born sɛ West Africa sudwe ɛbɛyɛ adwuma ase edu nketia papa wele na ho fa ɔfa no ho anya sɛ gitu na ohwɛ sɛ deɛ osi asiesie no ho ɛwɔ ayidi a oye muyo abibifo ahini ye do ahini ye de so tu kwa ho na wo mu a ye do mo si asantefo ano brofo ano besi omo ba se BBC abrechiro na on bi ba omo obi oso na ate ekuta adamadwa ni nyina adamadwa ni nyina no omo di bi akwa brochiro enso se nipa no Ghana no onye ohene bia o bare bia na ya bode hene wo ho oda Ghana fo na no oda santifo no oda bumfo no na minim se omo ba Ghana ha se ya na ombebre omo ho ase ma ahemfo a omo gina omo na mu abrochiro menim so ohwe mfoni no a na ohwe konwa a ote so se ne yire na na ti ne nchen yo on se ensem we se na dodo na animo na wo wati me na mente enso epi abontie no ama Ghana fo ani abere papa se da bi yan transi man fofo na ye kwae yan transi emanema bi o hodo mo a enkokoduru ba bi na se ni Nigeria fo enya ohan bi enti sambre ya no empanifo no mpase papa bi nkan kire no na ye yama Ghana ye fofo dodo na ade bi a wontimi nkoye no ba bia no Chinese fortune baba ni omope Pakistan for also ebina no work kan India for the Ghana for no omutra ya cho India for ba o mi na bi akwala na menti say India for so achechiro mba bisa amaya sani esigi ahoho na efe but mo maya nkoji ahoho chani bia na ahoho no metu ya bonti imprum enti wenya disua ema amanyofo no because one bi one mo ba emfie na na omo chi so no omo ye niema bi a enkyere se omo dwene emfie aka wo yanimo no we the BBC aba efsramo amanyafo no mra bonti na muso meka bibi nkyere na asase a wagye no so ɔde bedua kakaduru a ɛbɛbɔ adanse ɔpɛ sɛ ɔkyekyere kingdom ɛwɔ Ghana ha sei no na nye bia sɛ Igbo kingdom in Ghana ɛkɔ Nigeria ɔmo baabi wɔfrɛ hɔ apɛ sɛ Ghana foɔ ɛwɔ hɔ paa bɛ mankwankɔte sɛ obi da wɔn ano a ɔyɛ ɔhene na ɔno nso wɔ n'akonnwa na ɔyɛ biribi foforɔ bi ɛbi wobɛkɔ baabi a ne wɔ mmorɔno bi a nipa bi aboa wɔn ano bɛ nkɔnkɔɛ de sɛ ɔno nso ɛbɛsi ne ho hene ɛwɔ ha asase bɛ ɛna ahemfo koraa na ɛtɔn asase ya ntam saa ma na asase no a wɔtɔn ma wɔn no ɛdeɛ na no wɔn yɛ wɔ so ansa na wɔnya asase ya ntam saa Ghana ebi ne nea Chinese foɔ bɛsene kɔ Ghana nkura si kɔ yɛ nneɛma bi a wodwene ho a wɔnti aseɛ yi o yɛse yɛgye ahɔho a momma mbra ɛnyɛ adwuma na momma yɛmmu yɛni ɛngu nneɛma so na yɛbu ani egu nneɛma so a ɛbɛsa aba abɛdane abɛka yɛ nea ɛmo ɛne hwɛ ne tie na nea aba no nso fɔ adwene bra bye bye.